We're back here on Civil Discourse now. I'm Mark Small. Co-host with me is Paul Ogden. We are here with our guest Ryan Vaughn, who is president of the is it Indianapolis City-County Council, or is it Marion County City-County Council, or what is the correct name?
It is technically the Indianapolis City-County Council, but its official name is the Council.
Okay, so in other words, it's Indianapolis is in Marion County, and in 69 or 70, a statute was enacted in the legislature that made the city and the county, for all practical purposes, one political entity. And it's called Unigov, or was at the time. Now people have kind of chucked Unigov. I mean, that was a very, very dominant thing. So anyways, Ryan is our guest today. We've been talking about different issues here in the city, and particularly here in Broad Ripple. One issue we were talking about a little bit ago with another candidate who was a guest here on the show was public transportation here in Indianapolis. I lived in Chicago for a couple of years. And we ride the bus. We'll take the bus downtown, being responsible people, to see a game at Victory Field, to watch the Indianapolis Indians play ball. We'll go down for a business person special. Opening pitch is like, 105 or something. It's $1.75, I think, each to go down. And then we'll grab a cab coming back, because you have a couple of beers during a game. One, you don't want to have to screw around with parking and everything. You don't want to run over all those pedestrians and stuff coming home. And you're being responsible, and you're grabbing a cab and you're coming back here. But the mass transit system here is non-existent compared to Chicago, or even when I lived in Lafayette and West Lafayette. What are things being done to address that?
Well, a few. One, the mayor developed 3 years ago his Indy Connect plan. It was if you've been here a while, you're familiar with the fact that we've, in essence, studied this issue to death, so to speak.
Have you ever ridden the bus?
I have not ridden. I ridden the bus from downtown to the airport, and the shuttle from downtown to the airport. When I first came on the council 5 years ago, I actually read a mass transit study plan that had been generated by the city that was authored before I was born. So we really have sort of studied this to death. And there were 2 or 3 competing plans out there. The mayor wanted to consolidate that effort with the ultimate goal of finally taking it to a referendum, so that the people of Indianapolis can definitively say one way or another, yes, we're committed to a more robust public transportation program, or no, we're not, and we can sort of shelve it or proceed with it moving forward. So the Indiana General Assembly will entertain a bill this coming January that does just that. It develops a plan, takes the Indy Connect plan that's been presented by the mayor and the folks he's had working on it, and hopefully will authorize a referendum on the issue for the following general election. Locally, of course, we still have Indigo. Indigo has been a sort of a stepchild, frankly, in tough economic times of our budget. We have seen over the course of a number of years decreased funding, or asking them to live on the same funding with increased costs, which has really put their operations in a bind, because they are not able to offer the frequency of service that folks from Chicago would be used to. For example, where a bus may come every 10 minutes in LA or Chicago, or even smaller cities of similar size to ours, now they're 15, 20 minutes apart from one another, and because there are fewer of them, the predictability of that timing is somewhat suspect. So it's not as reliable as some folks would like or depends on, and we have planned in our budget that we're entertaining Monday provides them with some additional funding. It helps them maintain the routes they have, helps them maintain the frequency with the routes they have. It also builds up their reserves a little bit. Indigo, although funded locally, is funded mostly through federal money, and so the feds look at us and they look at Indigo and to whether or not it's an ongoing business concern when they make their prioritization on how they will invest their money. So we're certainly investing in Indigo this year, putting on a good face and demonstrating a commitment to the federal government that we are committed to this program. But ultimately, it'll be a year from now where Indianapolis makes its final decision of are we all in or are we not on mass transit.
Well, and on that note, and not to belabor one topic or anything, but actually, having ridden on Indigo, the buses are fairly reliable in terms of the drivers. If they're ahead of schedule, you'll wonder why you see an Indigo bus sitting next to the curb when passengers are on board. It's because they want to make sure that they're not to a stop early.
Sure.
Because people, if the bus is late, it's one thing. I mean, you can only stand there and wait for the bus. But if it's early, you can't get that bus, and they're an hour apart. I mean, so it's not, the frequency is bad and doesn't make it reliable for people who otherwise would be riding the bus. Because like when I lived in Chicago, everybody rode the bus. It was silly to own a car. But there are positives about that, the system that they have. It's just that they need to pump more money into it and buy more buses, build some light rail. I mean, how do you define a world-class city? I guess that would be one thing. I know we're always very conscious of Indianapolis being viewed as a town of hicks or something. How do you, I'm sure, we got a pro football team, we got a pro basketball team, we've got a AAA baseball team, we got an art museum that's nice but has a Picasso in it that I've never recognized and other people haven't. We've got a decent symphony. We've got a great children's museum. What other elements go into a great city? Mass transit? What else?
Yeah, I mean, I've never believed that Indianapolis suffers from sort of a hick reputation. I mean, it's the 11th largest area in the country, urban area in the country. We have fantastic amenities. We were host to, going back to the Pan Am Games. We've had a national reputation. We are a premier city when it comes to hosting conventions. It's actually sort of the lifeblood of our downtown. More directly to your point, though, mass transit is, without a doubt, our most identifiable weakness as it relates to other large-scale cities. I mentioned that we were the 11th largest city in the country, but our mass transit system ranks somewhere in the 150th range.
Yeah, I read it in an article, I think it was Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, and certainly we have to make improvements in there. And, I've met with folks who are coming from conventions just to get a feel for how responsive we are to their needs, and most of their comments are, it is remarkable to them how vibrant our downtown is and the amenities downtown, given that we have no robust transit system. So we've been fortunate to succeed without it, but I think that if we want to take that next step, if we want to continue to grow, especially if we want to take advantage regionally of the assets we have, we need to reach out and really develop bus mass transit, or rapid transit for buses, so even more frequent than what you're talking about, even faster, more lines, dedicated lines. That's going to be key to what we do. Light rail is certainly in the conversation, connecting us with some of the more populated towns in Hamilton County, whether it be Carmel or Fishers or whatever, to really drive folks down here. And then what we've been calling local connectors downtown, whether it's trolley cars or just even little bus routes, smaller buses, but dedicated to that. Well, really moving people from one side of the city to the next, or north, south, east, west, what have you.
Oh, we've got the one track that was put in between IU and Methodist. Mm-hmm. The hospitals. IU Hospital is just west of downtown, and Methodist is just north. And even a light rail like that, if you had something like that going across the city from the airport to the east side, I mean, it doesn't just move people who are there already, but rails, when you put those stops in and everything, those neighborhoods that might be otherwise run down or people don't want to live in or stay in, all of a sudden you got mass transit there, people want to live there, they want to develop it, the property's cheap, they can do it and they can build it up.
Yeah. Well, and there's real advantage too, capitalizing on all the folks that come downtown for our convention business, introducing them to some places that they don't traditionally visit because they're outside of the walking distance. But if there's a trolley connector there, if there's a short bus there, getting people from the convention center to the zoo or the art museum or the NCAA Hall of Champions or Broad Ripple or Irvington or Speedway, right? All of these amenities that we offer that are part of our culture that we should be proud of, that often are highlighted in our literature to the folks that come visit us, but we don't make them easily accessible because you have to have a car to get there, or you have to be committed to walking significant distance to get there.
Sure. And even parking downtown is a real hassle anymore. I mean, it has been, but it's become even more so with when there's an event on. It's so difficult it really becomes more convenient to go downtown by cab, and we live here.
Sure.
What 3 issues do you see coming down the pipe in the next 4 years? What are 3 big issues?
Yeah, fiscal responsibility is going to have to be the number one focus. The discipline it's going to take on the part of local government to survive and maintain its services, given this economy that just is not recovering at the rate everyone would foresee.
The Obama economy.
No, it's the Bush economy.
That's right. I call it the bad economy. All right.
So fiscal responsibility, part of that has to do with property tax caps and finding other ways to fund local services.
Yeah, I mean, we for example, we'll vote on a budget here Monday, and we are approximately $85 million. We've collected $85 million less in income taxes than we did in 2010, and the property tax caps are costing the city $48 million. So that's $120 million in a $940 million budget. It's a significant impact to us. We're sure in favor of the property tax caps. The mayor testified in favor. We need some.
California got in the 80s. It's destroyed their economy.
What it does is it forces local government to live within its means, and it also provides some predictability to people on fixed incomes who own their homes. The year before the caps went in place, my property taxes from one bill to the next went up 236%.
Yeah, but there were reasons other than tax increases. They reassessed properties. There were other factors in why the property tax went up.
Well, we still have assessment process, so that hasn't changed. I mean, your properties will still be reassessed at market value and taxed at the appropriate rate. But what I'm saying is, if I hadn't have been 30 years old with no children and 2 incomes, that bill could have put me out of my home, as it did some people in this area. We're sitting in taxing district 801. Taxing district 801 had a net increase of $3,500 on their property taxes, and as a percentage of their bill, it was 90%. There are a lot of folks around here that live on fixed incomes, whether it be retirement or other, and have owned their homes for years, that suddenly we're now being forced to pay a higher percentage of an incredibly higher value of their property, and they shouldn't be forced out of a place a community they've built up because they can no longer afford to pay the taxes, which were unpredictable.
You've got two more issues.
Sure.
Okay, that was the first issue. So it's fiscal responsibility. What is the second?
We're only halfway through eliminating our infrastructure deficit in the city. When we came in 4 years ago, we identified about $1 billion worth of needed repairs to our infrastructure: streets, sidewalks, sewers, stormwater drainage. With the utility transfer deal, we have about $450 million to address those things. We've spent year to date about $184 million on projects. Even if we made it all the way through that, we would only get halfway where we need to be. So we need to look for solutions to get the other way.
The combined sewer and storm, I didn't know how to say that.
Gentlemen, we're going to have to go to another segment.
Okay, well, it's okay.
We're right at the end of this segment. We'll be back in just a minute.